This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Rabbi, so this is a very interesting sugya. It's Nageya L'maisa, a little bit off topic of Masechta Sukkah, but it's a good opportunity. Okay, so here's the situation. Tosfos in Masechta Brachos and Daf Chavav talks about a case where somebody made a mistake, and Mincha on Shabbos, he forgot to daven. He forgot to daven Mincha on Shabbos. So he davens Marav twice. The first one, he davens Marav for the Marav, and he says Atachanatano, he's Mavdil in the Marav. And then he davens again, and he's not Mavdil in the second Tefilla, because the second Tefilla is a makeup for Mincha. So why would he be Mavdil? He already was Mavdil in the first Tefilla, and the second one is a makeup. Okay, so Tosfos says, on the third line, Kasa Rabbeinu Yehuda, Imta, v'lo hizker Rosh Chodesh b'mincha. Let's say like this. It's Rosh Chodesh, a one-day Rosh Chodesh, let's say, or the second day Rosh Chodesh, and you're supposed to say Yalav Yavai Mincha, and you forgot Yalav Yavai. We all know the halacha is if you forget Yalav Yavai during Mincha, you have to daven again. So now he wakes up Marav time. Hey, my Mincha wasn't good. I didn't say Yalav Yavai during Mincha. So the shaila is, do you daven again? So Rabbeinu Yehuda says, what's the point of davening again? There's no Yalav Yavai in Marav. So I didn't, when I daven Mincha, I daven the Shemona Esrei without Yalav Yavai. So now I'm going to daven Marav, I'm going to make it up. Well, what am I going to make up? I'm going to say Yalav Yavai, it's not Rosh Chodesh. I'm not going to say Yalav Yavai, I already did that. I already said a Shemona Esrei without Yalav Yavai. So what's the point of davening again? My davening again is not accomplishing anything over my original tefillah. So it says Tosfos, Kasar Rabbeinu Yehuda, Dem Tav lo hizker Rosh Chodesh b'mincha, lo yispalel oid b'layla, delama yispalel oid, why should you daven again? Hari kvar espalel kol tfilas hamincha mi ba'oid yoim. I already daven the whole Shemona Esrei on mincha time. Levad Rosh Chodesh lo hizker, except for Yalav Yavai, which I didn't mention. Im Kain, here are the key lines, the key words. Ein marviach klum im yachsar v'yispala b'matzoi Rosh Chodesh. I don't gain, I don't profit, I don't accomplish anything by davening again Marav Matzoi Rosh Chodesh, because Harei lo yazkir oid tfilas Rosh Chodesh. I'm not mentioning Yalav Yavai in the Marav. Elamai Shemona Esrei I said already. V'yurches kvar hispala. Fine, that's the psak of Rabbeinu Yehuda. Okay, the psak of Rabbeinu Yehuda is you miss the Yalav Yavai by Mincha, then you wake up Marav time, you say Oivei, I have to daven Mincha again. So normally if you miss Mincha, you daven two Maravs, right? Everybody knows if you forgot and you missed the Mincha, you daven two Maravs. Fine. But here, I'm making up for a tefillah where I daven the Shemona Esrei. The only thing I missed in the Shemona Esrei is Yalav Yavai. I can't say Yalav Yavai now anyway because it's no longer Rosh Chodesh. So the lashon is Ma'imar in marviach klum. I don't gain anything by davening another Mariv, because in this Mariv the only thing I need to make up is a Yalav Yavai, which I can't do anyway. I'm not making up a Yalav Yavai. Fine. That's the psak of Tosfos.
Right? It's davening another Shemona Esrei. It's not kind of davening.
Correct. It's not Hamarav Aravim. Correct. Right. Says Tosfos. Says Tosfos. V'loi dami. It's not similar lahada amar hacha to that which the Gemara there said in brachos. Ta v'lo yispala mincha b'Shabbos dimispala arvis b'chol shtayim. Listen to this scenario. It is Shabbos, and it's one of those short Shabbos afternoons, and the rabbi spoke. He gave a 3-hour drasha. Right? He speaks so long. And then the kiddush is very long, and the meal is very long, and you just sat down on the couch to read one of these Jewish magazines that advertise cheesecakes, and different recipes, and and then you fell asleep, and you wake up, and it's Matzoi Shabbos. You get an email, Avos Subanim Learning, sponsored by Daniel Rafaelovich, right? So then. Well, you have to daven another mincha. So now, what are you going to daven? So what's the halach? What do you do if you miss mincha on Shabbos? The halach is you daven 2 weekday maravs. Well, 2 weekday maravs. But what I missed was, I missed but I missed a Shabbos stika davening. So what good is it? I forgot to say Mikadesh HaShabbos. So what good is it going to be that I'm going to say another Yud Ches Brachas, another Shemona Esrei? I didn't miss a Yud Ches Brachas. I missed a Shabbos stika davening. But the halacha is you daven 2 weekday maravs, even though the Shemona Esrei I missed was a Shabbos mincha. So what's the pshat over there? Why over there do we say that you should daven 2 marevs? Says Tosfos, a very interesting thing. Good to know. Is it really that you're
davening that tefillah again, or is it just?
Right. When you borrow money,
tefillah, you don't owe a yalav yav. I think that's what you're trying to say, right?
Like
you owe a tefillah. You're 2 tefillahs behind, so you have to daven 3 times a day. So you're davening 3 times a day.
No. So the thing is that if I daven mincha, but I forgot Rosh Chodesh, so I don't owe a tefillah. I owe a yalav yavai. So if I'm not going to have a yalav yavai,
you owe yalav yav. You owe a mincha. The mincha at that time happened to be you had.
So Kalev is saying that why is it so pashut that we're viewing it that I didn't daven and I owe a tefillah? Excuse me. Why is it so pashut we're looking at that I daven and I just owe a yalav yavai? Maybe we could view it that if I don't say yalav yavai, I didn't daven properly. If I didn't daven properly, my tefillah wasn't good, and I owe a tefillah, and in that case, I should daven 2 marevs. But apparently, the way Rabbeinu Yehuda looks at it is that I don't owe a tefillah because the tefillah I said I just missed hazkaras.
Tefillah is not meaning it's not if it's not complete, it's not a tefillah at all. Meaning at that point you had to do yalav yavai. So
that's what you're arguing. Apparently, Rabbeinu Yehuda holds that Judaism is not all or nothing, right? In other words, if let's say davening is 9 to 11. What's better? Is it better to come from 10 to 11, or is it better not to come at all? Avada is better to come from 10 to 11. Now, when it comes to talking, it's not. I could only come if I talk. Then it's better not to come at all. If you feel you're going to have to talk, that's all or nothing. Meaning the halach, that's halach. I'm not making up. I don't make up the rules. I just report. I'm a reporter. I try to be an accurate reporter, and I try to mention this as much as possible. Because otherwise, what?
A simple rise Rosh Chodesh by night.
What?
Rosh Chodesh the first night. If you miss Yalav,
that's something else. That's something else because it's not critical to say Yalav Yavai than at nighttime, because Bezdin is not Mekadesh the Chodesh at night.
See that it's not the Yalav.
No, you didn't have the Chiyuv at that time. By Mincha, you do have the Chiyuv.
Right. So Tosfos is viewing it that if I miss Yalav Yavai by Mincha, a tefillah I did, but I owe a Yalav Yavai. You're trying to say that if the fact that I don't have to repeat Shemana Esrei if I miss Yalav Yavai at night, that indicates that it was a Shemana Esrei. It just, okay, perhaps. So again, clearly the way Rabbeinu Yehuda views it is that if you miss Yalav Yavai, all you did was miss Yalav Yavai, but you didn't blow the whole tefillah. So why when a person misses Shemana Esrei, Shabbos by Mincha, do we daven 2 marevs, but I missed the Shabbos Dika tefillah? What good is it? Ma marviach that I'm davening a second, what my marvich that I'm davening a weekday Shemana Esrei if I miss the Shabbos Dika tefillah. So that Tosfos says a very important chiddush, and that is that really on Shabbos you should be davening 18 brachos. The Ikar Shemana Esrei of Shabbos is 18 brachos. But Mibnei Tircha de Tzibura, Chazal mitigated it down to 7. But really, 18 is what is Shaykh to Shabbos. So it's not inappropriate to be davening 18 brachos as a makeup for Shabbos, because anyway on Shabbos, really you should have been davening 18 brachos. Chazal, they let you off easy.
It's Friday.
What?
And if you miss
we're going to come to that. Good. We're going to come to that. Good. So Tosfos says, Ve'eloi dami lahada amar hacha tov le'yispala mincha b'Shabbos de'mispala arvis b'chol shtayim peirush shalcho mishum shlo yispala klal. The answer is if you miss mincha on Shabbos, you didn't daven at all. Im kein yarviach tfilas yudches, then you're gaining a Shemana Esrei kishem mispal b'matzah Shabbos. On matzah Shabbos, I'm not mentioning Shabbos. Afal b'shlo yazker shel Shabbos, even though I'm not mentioning Shabbos. Tosfos says I'm davening more than I have to. Ein lachush shegam b'Shabbos hayudin sheispal kol yirches rak shlo yisrichum b'nei hatoyreach nimsa shemarviach kol tfilasei. Meaning, if I miss mincha on Shabbos, I didn't daven. If I didn't daven, I need to daven. I am davening in tefillah more than I missed. I'm davening more than I missed. No, I'm not davening more than I missed because really I missed an 18 brachos. So let's just get clear what Tosfos Shita is. Rabbeinu Yehuda holds that when you miss a Yalav Yavai, all you did was you missed the Yalav Yavai. You davened a good Shemana Esrei, a valid Shemana Esrei. The only thing is you missed Yalav Yavai. So if in Marev time it's no longer Rosh Chodesh, you're not going to gain anything by davening twice, and therefore you don't daven twice. Now, if Marev, listen carefully, if Marev was still Rosh Chodesh,
it's a different day.
If it was a 2-day Rosh Chodesh, but I still owe a Yalav Yavai, so then Tosfos would agree that I would daven the first tefillah Marev with Yalav Yavai, and then I daven another tefillah with Yalav Yavai.
Wait till next Rosh Chodesh and Yalav Yavai is then.
Okay, so the rule of bad payment You know the rule about payment is you can only pay back in the immediate tefillah. In other words, a person misses shachris and mincha, they daven 2 maravs, they don't daven 3 maravs, right? Okay, I know you're joking, but okay, fine. So that's the shita of Rabbeinu Yehuda. Okay, comes the Rosh, and the Rosh brings up the svara that Kalev mentioned, and this is from the Chachmei Provence.
You say Atochan Antanu by both Marav?
No, so by you only say Atochan Antanu by the first Marav because that's Marav, and the second one is Mincha. So you don't say Atochan Antanu on the second one. So the second one is Be'ikar Mincha.
You wouldn't need to be Ma'avdo Ben Kadosh Chol. You already did that.
You wouldn't need to, and it's not Marav. We don't view it as Marav. We look at a payment for Mincha. Okay, so the Rosh quotes Tosfos, he quotes Rabbeinu Yehuda, and then look in the Rosh, number 2. There's a Rosh in Brachos, Parak Tefillas HaShachar, Ois Beis. It's about 7 lines down. The last one on the line is V'chachmei Provencia. Kalev, you have any French roots? German? Okay, it's close enough, right? I think Germany and France border each other, and anyway, Kalev and the Chachmei Provencia, they want to say no. Since you did not fulfill your obligation in this tefillah, you daven, but you don't get credit for it because you miss Yalvi Yavai. So it's like you didn't daven. You need to daven 2 maravs. I just missed the Yalvi Yavai, and now I'm nachamo missing a Yalvi Yavai. You don't view it that way. I missed the Yalvi Yavai, now I'm davening without Yalvi Yavai. You view it that I didn't daven. So now I have to daven. Happens to be now's davening is without Yalav Yavai. Right? Afal pi she'ein mazkor shel Rosh Chodesh oy shel Shabbos, even though you're not mentioning Rosh Chodesh or Shabbos. So we have a big machlokes. By the way, the heaters don't really work. It's the placebo effect, you know? Anyway. What? Placebo effect, thank you. What?
Yeah.
Blew the fuse?
Blew the fuse, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, B'kitzur, we have machlokes Rishonim. Rabbeinu Yehuda holds if you miss Yalav Yavai, you just missed the Yalav Yavai, and therefore if in the Marav Tefillah there's no Yalav Yavai, Einoi Marviach Klum. And the Chachmei Provencia hold, no, if I missed the Yalav Yavai, it's like I didn't daven. So if I didn't daven, I gotta daven again. So what do you do, L'maisa? Says the Rosh, V'hadavar Muchra. You know what Muchra means? V'hadavar Muchra means like, it's like hanging in the balance, meaning you have on one side Rabbeinu Yehuda, you have on the other side Kalev and the Chachmei Provencia. So it's like what do you do? So what you do is you want to. It's machlokes. So now what do you do when you have if you have a machlokes whether you should daven again? Normally you would say Safek Brachos Lahakel. So should you daven again? No. V'hadavar mochel lekachaya Omer Rabbeinu Yoina. Therefore, Rabbeinu Yoina would say, "Shahanachain latzes min asafek, sheyispalel oisol le'erev b'tars nadava." Daven another tefillah, but as an adava. The halacha is: let's say I want to daven 2 maravs. Stam azay. Tonight, the season is winding down. I hope my team makes the playoffs. They have a lot of riding on it. So I want to daven an extra tefillah that they should be matzliach, right? That the injured players have refuah shalema b'soich kol. Chayle, whatever. So, are you allowed to daven a tefillas nadava? Technically, you're allowed to daven an extra tefillah. The only thing is, when you daven a tefillas nadava, you have to add something in your tefillah. Now, the truth is, we don't daven tefillas nadava because we can't really have kavana. But technically, you're allowed to daven a tefillas nadava, and you're supposed to be moist of something. So, under these circumstances, what you do in Marav is, if you miss the Yalav Yavai by Mincha, you daven again. B'Torah's tefillas nadava, you say like this: if the halacha is like the Chachmei Provencia, I'm mechuyev to daven again. And if the halacha is like Rabbeinu Yehuda, then I shouldn't be davening. It's a tefillas nadava. So even though we don't do tefillas nadava, that's because we can't really be moist of anything in our kavana. But here we are being moist of something. You know what you're being moist of? You're being moist of that in case I'm yotzei the suffix because according to the Chachmei Provencia, I'm mechuyev to daven. So that's what I'm yotzei in this tefillah. So therefore, Rabbeinu Yonah says, "Shahanachen lotzis min asafek sheyispal eloisa le'erev b'taras nadava." That you daven in the evening at Taras Nadava. Ve'ein sarch lechadish b'dava. You don't need to be moist of anything in your kavana. The kivan shemispal oisal derech hasafek. Since you're davening it misafek ein lecha chidush gadol mizah. There's no greater chidush of davening a tefillah that this way you'll be yotzei l'chol adeyos. According to the Chachmei Provence, I need to. According to Rabbeinu Yehuda, I don't need to. This way to get out of the suffix, I'm davening again.
Shmon Esrei is not a daraisa?
Shmon Esrei is not a daraisa. No.
Only Shmon.
Shema is a doiraisa. In fact, according to Ramban, no tefillas a day are a doiraisa. According to the Rambam, once a day you're mechuyev to daven, but not Shemona Esrei. According to the Rambam, if you wake up in the morning, you say, Rebbeinu Shalom, you're the greatest, please help me have a good day, you're ready to say your mitzvah d'oraisa of tefillah. There's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan of davening 3 times a day. Okay, fine. So how do we paskin? Do we paskin this like this Rabbeinu Yoina? Yes. According to the Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Kuf Ches Sif Yud Aleph, V'hu adinim lo yizkar yalav yavei b'mincha shorosh chodesh. What do? You daven Marav twice, and you daven it as a Taras Nadava. And the Mishnah Berurah explains, because according to some say it's like you didn't daven, so you have to daven it again, and some say it's you just missed yalav yavei, so then it doesn't help to daven again. So by the way, I'm just going to speak out quickly, and it's obvious. The Stipler says, what is the Nekudas HaMachlokes between Rabbeinu Yehuda and the Chachmei Provence? Like, how would you pinpoint the Machlokes? We already said it, right? That Rabbeinu Yehuda holds that when you miss the Yalav Yavai, you davened well, you davened the Naish Esrei. In other words, you're going to go up to Gan Eden, they're going to reward you for 18 brachos. They're just going to say, you blew the Yalav Yavai, we can't give you the reward for Yalav Yavai because you didn't say Yalav Yavai. But it's not like you said 18 brachal of Atalas. I think we're trained to think if you forget Yalav Yavai, so then you said 18 blessings in vain. You didn't. You davened the beautiful tefillah. It's very chaviv HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just you made an error. You made an important error, but you made an error that you forgot Yalav Yavai. That's how Rabbeinu Yehuda looks at it. The Chacham, the French Tosafists, right, the Chachmei Provence, they say you didn't do anything. You blew it. You said 18 brachal of Atalas. You didn't daven today. That's the Nekudas HaMachlokes. Fine. With that, the Stipler begins to dig into very interesting scenarios. Yeah.
Do you have to try to go to another minyan? Daven?
It's a very good question. Let's say you miss the Yalav Yavai, and you miss the Yalav Yavai, and you realize you miss the Yalav Yavai, so you have to daven again according to everyone. So if I didn't daven with the minyan either. So they had to have to go get another minyan from Marav.
According to the other,
you would say like this. According to Rabbeinu Yehuda, I daven with a minyan.
Everybody's walking in front of a good chodesh to you, and you realize that you didn't daven.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So you want to know, should I go to another shul? So I would have thought, according to Rabbeinu Yehuda, I davened. It's a good tefillah, so I daven with the minyan. Elamai, I forgot Yalav Yavai, so I'll daven privately and get in the Yalav Yavai.
Davening again.
But if
obviously, I don't know if
I'm saying, but according to the Shita that I didn't daven, you would think you would have to go again. I saw Rav Shlomo Zalman says you don't. You already say the chiyuv of the Chachamim to go daven with the minyan. Elamai, I didn't daven. That was my personal error, but I fulfilled my. I'm not saying it's not a nice thing. I'm just saying you're not mechuyev to.
If it's easy, it's the same with any mitzvah. I'll add to what amount. If you go down the block or you're in a shtibel, there's a minyan.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a tashlum by mincha,
yeah.
You wait after Chatzar Tashaf to do the tashlum.
You I think you're supposed to wait a few seconds between. You could. Okay, here's a shaila. Very interesting shaila. What's the halacha? So it's brought in Shulchan Aruch Siman Kuf Chavav Siv Gimel. A shliach tzibor, he's davening his private Shemona Esrei, and he forgets Yalav Yavai. Right? Anybody know the halacha in this case? Let's say you're davening for the Amud, and it's Rosh Chodesh, and you forget Yalav Yavai. And now all of a sudden, he takes his 3 steps back, and everyone expects him to go right into the Chazar Sashatz. And he takes another, and all of a sudden, he starts again. Nachamo, he's going to daven. He's one of these. He's going to daven again a private Shema. Does he have to daven a private Shemona Esrei? Because he blew the first Shemona Esrei. So aside from the fact that he's risking his life, right? So the halacha, the Shulchan Aruch brings down, ein machzir noisei, because right, like as you said, it's tircha d'tzibura. What do you mean tircha d'tzibura? Imagine if the guy was on his phone during the private Shemona Esrei, so he didn't daven. Like everyone else, he was busy doing messages. So he can't do Chazar Sashat. He's going to have to do the private Shemona Esrei. So tircha d'tzibura only goes so far. Meaning, if he didn't daven the private Shemona Esrei, he's going to have to daven the private Shemona Esrei. So here, he didn't daven the private Shemona Esrei. He missed the Yalav Yavai. So the halacha is no. He could. since he's going to be saying Ya'aleh v'Yavai in his public Shemona Esrei, it's okay that he missed the private Shemona Esrei. Wait a second.
That's true. What's the chiyuv of the?
So 1 second. Imagine if this, let's say the Sheikh Tzibur said, I forgot 3 middle brachos. So then we're going to have to wait for him to daven the private Shemona Esrei, right?
If you're the shliach tzibur.
By the way, it happened in the shul. It happened 2 weeks ago. No, it happened. When was Mati Gutman's bar mitzvah? Last Shabbos? Last Shabbos. So I was here. So the chazan for Musaf. I turned around. I turned to the guy. Did he say Yat Kaddish? Everyone said like that. So I relied on them. He takes 3 steps back, and he says, I didn't say Yat Kaddish. And I didn't know what the halacha was at the time. What's halacha if a Sheikh Tzibur forgets 1 bracha? So I said I have to look into it. I didn't know. L'maisa it's machlekes Bavli and Yerushalmi. I'm not sure how we paskin. I still am not sure what the halacha is. But so from here you see, never, if you think somebody didn't say anything, never rely on anyone who thinks they did, because of course they said. It's like you correct about kare. Gezugt, right? They don't want to go back. Nobody wants to go back.
What's the when the Baal Tefilla says?
I had it. I'm sorry. In my old shul, by Yom Kippur, by Ne'ilah.
Good timing.
The guy missed Hamelch HaKadosh. The Chazan missed Hamelch HaKadosh. He said Hakel HaKadosh. He said, I don't know why. There was a reason why. And I was still in the middle of Shemona Esrei because I didn't make them wait for me. So I didn't know what to do. I caught it in the middle of my Shemona Esrei. So I had to stop my Shemona Esrei, walk to, now the Chazan in the shul, davens about 30 feet into the shul, walk to him, motion to him in the middle of my Shemona Esrei that he has to start the Chazar Sashatz over, skipping the piyutim, because, because otherwise, mamish to people. But that was the case where you do have to go back. But what if you forget? What if you forgot a bracha? So the halacha is like this. What if the chazan forgets Ya'aleh v'Yavai in his private Shemona Esrei?
It's embarrassing for him to go back. So
We don't really care about that. You know why? I have a question. Why are you allowed to correct about Koreh? It's Mavaza, you're Mavayishim Barabim.
because you would say everybody else
Halavai.
Halavai.
No, what about you see his face turns red? You're allowed to do it? Or
isn't the Chazar Shashatz not a requirement for you? Like your Yotze, your Shmon Esrei.
I know, but it's a Chiv HaTzibor.
When a Baal Kair is going up there, he knows
the pshat is, if you can't take the heat, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. That's why. You're going up, you're consenting to, meaning, and also it's not called embarrassing here. You're not embarrassing him. You're not ridiculing him. You're not saying he's a bad. You're saying you missed a word. If his reaction is embarrassment, that's his own, Okay. Anyway, so in this case, he missed.
Davens,
yeah.
So his Shmon Esrei is what? It's on that tzibur because you see all the time in Shtibluch, right? They daven, right? You see it all the time in Chassidim. They daven mincha. Guy comes in, so you should start with the Shliach Tzibur, right? Because they can do so. Instead, the Chazan goes, "No, you daven." Chazar Sashatz. You ever see that happen? If another guy was the Shmon Tzibur beginning, tells the other guy, "Your Shmon Esrei will be the Chazar Sashatz to everyone else." So how's that get?
I can't comment on the customs of.
No, but anyway, you see it happen in Shliach.
Okay.
So, you're asking when that guy comes in late, and he's davening now as the Shliach Tzibur.
No, but he's
first chiyuv.
No, his chiyuv is for the tzibur. His chiyuv is for the tzibur.
It's also for himself because he didn't daven.
You're right.
Was that okay?
You're right. No, but the thing is, but here's the halacha that the Shliach Tzibur. So according to this, it seems this is not correct. That's not correct, right? Al pi the halacha, it's not correct because we know if a person, in other words, basically, I wasn't there, but it's not the halacha. You know how to do that. Why? Because before you might see the tzibur, you have to have covered you have to have covered your Shemona Esrei. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. Okay, so if you miss, let's say a chazan says the first 3 brachas, last 3 brachas, he misses the middle. Before he does Chazar Sashatz, he must do the private Shemona Esrei. That's halacha. Fine. Maybe so the shaila is, let's say he forgets Yalav Yavai. Let's say he forgets. So halacha is we allow him to rely on the Chazar Sashatz. So frek the stipler. Bishlama, according to Rabbeinu Yehuda, that when you daven without Yalav Yavai, it's a good tefillah. Elamai, you miss Yalav Yavai, so we understand why you could rely on the Chazar Sashatz, because I daven the good Shemona Esrei. Elamai, I need to make up Yalav Yavai, I'll do it in the Chazar Sashatz. But according to the Chachmei Provence, where if you miss Yalav Yavai, you didn't daven. So if the same way, if a chazan didn't daven, he has to daven before Chazar Sashatz. So too, if he missed Yalav Yavai, l'chayra also he should have to daven again before the Chazar Sashatz. That's the Stipler's kat. I mean, the Stipler says this halacha is not consistent with the Chachmei Provence.
Right, but for Chachmei Provence we can say...
What? So this halacha, that means the Shulchan Aruch then is not consistent. Because the Shulchan Aruch in general is choishish for the Chachmei Provence. Because he says if you forget Yalav Yavai, the halacha is you daven again mitaris nadava. So why over here does the Shulchan Aruch allow you to rely on the Yalav Yavai Chazar Sashatz, but according to the Chachmei Provence he didn't daven at all? So listen to the Lomdus the Stipler says.
Why don't we say that we don't want to embarrass him?
Because that we don't.
And there will be way out. We don't want to embarrass Tzibur Shliach.
Because the answer is because the halacha doesn't say that.
I mean, but there is only one case where we say person have to embarrass himself with shatnas, right? I hear like hundreds of the people.
You mean covered? You mean why don't we say covered habrios allows him just to miss it?
No, not allowed to. If he missed it, like we're not gonna put him.
Can I say something? Because I would say that it's not a lack of kavod habrios if someone makes a mistake. People make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes.
I'm pretty sure that person will be embarrassed. I mean,
you're right, but he's not going to be. He's not. Listen, he's not going to be utterly crushed. His life will go on, And if it can't, then he needs to speak to somebody. If a person can't get over being corrected for forgetting a Yalav Yavai,
Yeah, but in old times it was a
and in old times people could handle it.
No, it was a paid position. He could have lost his paid position. It would be like really.
Then he deserves to lose it. He's a chazan, Okay, so we correct him. We go back. We're not taking away his job. Okay, so the Stipler says a very interesting Lomdus. That why would the Chachmei Provence say that if you miss Yalav Yavai, it's considered like you didn't daven? Is it because if you miss Yalav Yavai, it's considered you didn't daven? No, it's like this. If you miss Yalav Yavai, it's considered that you didn't daven. You know why? Because you have to daven again. But if you don't have to daven again, then it's not considered like you didn't daven. Meaning a shliach tzibur who, if he misses Yalav Yavai, has the option of getting it in his Chazar Sashatz. So for under the circumstances, we're not going to consider it like he didn't daven. We're only going to consider a private individual who didn't say Yalav Yavai as if he didn't daven, because since we require, meaning it's the obligation to daven again that renders it as if you didn't daven. But if we don't obligate you to daven again, then we're not going to render it as if you didn't daven, we're just going to render it as if you missed the Yalav Yavai, and therefore you could make it up in the Chazar Sashatz. So it's not an absolute that you didn't daven. It's only considered like you didn't daven because we obligate you to daven again. If we don't obligate you to daven again, it's not going to be considered as if you didn't daven. So it's not like objectively that you didn't daven when you miss Yalav Yavai. It's the rabbis treat it as if you didn't daven because they obligate you to daven again. But if they don't obligate you to daven again, because they say you could be soymech on the Chazar Sashatz, then it will not be considered as if you didn't daven.
So hold on, if I miss it during my private one and I'm listening to the Chazar Sashatz now and doesn't say Yalav Yavai, why can't I just rely on him?
So technically speaking, you could. No, technically speaking, in the good old days, you could have, but we don't do that anymore. Because he's not being moitzi you. He doesn't have in mind to be moitzi you. He's just fulfilling, according to Shulchan Aruch, Takanas
Chachamim.
Chachamim.
That because the device that mandates us to repeat it is controlled by also those who might say we don't have that mandate. In certain circumstances, we can forego that requirement to repeat it. Because it's all in the power of the Chacham anyway.
Okay. One little knetch is what considers it? Why is it considered that you didn't daven? Because it's not objectively that the rabbis say you didn't daven. They're saying you didn't daven in the statement of you must daven again. But if they don't say you must daven again, that means they're not treating it as if you didn't daven. So let's take it one added step. What's the halacha if you miss the Alviyava in Shachris? You repeat it, right? But you don't remember that you missed the Alviyava in Shachris until after you daven Musaf.
To daven a second Musaf.
It's still Zman Shachris. It's still Zman Shachris, right? Still the morning.
Once you say Musaf, you can't say it's Shachris.
You could. In other words, let's say a guy, for whatever reason, davens Musaf, you could still daven Shachris. But you don't remember that you didn't say Yalaviyava until after Musaf. The halacha is, once you daven Musaf, you don't have to daven Shachris again if you just miss Yalaviyava. Because in Musaf, you already mentioned Rosh Chodesh. Now you can't rely on it l'chadchila, but if you already daven the Musaf, you could be soymech on the Hazkara of Rosh Chodesh in the Musaf, and you don't have to daven the Shachris again.
Ties it together to the Shachris?
But that's a raya that the Tefilla is not, it's only this Schara of Rosh Chodesh that you need.
So says the Stipler, this Shita, the Knesset Hagdola that the Mishnah Berurah brings down, l'chayr is not consistent with the Chachmei Provence. Because if we're going to view it, that if you miss the Alaviyavai, you didn't daven. So if someone didn't daven Shachris and he davens Musaf, he has to daven Shachris.
But it's the same thing with the Chazar Shachris.
But if we're going to view it that if you don't say Yalaviyava, you daven Shachris, you just missed Yalaviyava. So I understand we don't allow you to rely on the mention of Yalaviyava by davening Musaf. But if you did already post facto, you could be soymech on it. So l'chayra, this is a stira to the Chachmei Provence. And Rav Scheinberg, in his Sefer Mishmeres Chaim, said, well, this is not good. Because the Magen Avram paskins like the Knesset Hagdola, who the Mishnah Berurah quotes, that if you remember that you didn't say Alviyov and Shachris after Musaf, you don't daven again. And the Magen Avram also paskins like the Chachmei Provence. So what do you want to say?
So say the same thing, the Chazar Shachris. The Chazan, because the same thing with Musaf, because there's an Eitzah essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So the Chachmei Provence, they were misakin on that scenario.
Right. So Asi wants to say, well, maybe we could make the Chachmei Provence consistent with the Knesset Hagdola. The other way around, the Knesset Hagdola consistent with the Chachmei Provence. And that is, the Chachmei Provence only consider it that if you don't say Yalaviyava, that you didn't daven, because you have to daven again. When the Chachamim say you have to daven again, they're saying it's as if you didn't daven. But they only said you have to daven again before Musaf. Once you daven Musaf, they don't say you have to daven again. They say it's only... Now, it's a little bit harder to say that, because they already said before you daven that you didn't daven. They already said you need to daven again, but they said it contingently. They said that before you daven Musaf, we're going to obligate you to daven again, and therefore treat it as if you didn't daven. But if you already daven Musaf, then we're not going to treat it as if, we're not going to require you to daven again, and we're not going to treat it as if you didn't daven. So the Stipler and Rav Scheinberg don't go for this, but yeah, I agree. I wrote that down in my notes, that also, like Asi saying that, maybe the same thing the Stipler said for the Chazan who misses it in his private Shemona Esrei, he could say it in his Chazar Sashatz. An individual who misses it and remembers after Musaf is also similar. Next case. Yeah? Give me 5 more minutes and then we'll wrap it up.
Should it be, I'm sorry.
Reb Chaim, you ready for Reb Chaim?
Yeah, but should all of this be...
you sure you're ready? How ready are you?
Carbonas.
What?
Like carbonas, daily carbonas.
Yeah.
You brought one carbonas, you bring the second carbonas, and what if you then find out the first carbonas was possible?
So
Are you allowed to bring first carbonas? I mean, we are not making anything up, right?
So Ari Levi is making a good point. And by the way, this is kedai to know that the whole concept that you could be mashlim tefillah, how can you mashlim tefillah? Oh, I forgot to take lulav and esrog. Oh, it's matzah yom tif. Oh, I'll shake it now. Like, it's ridiculous. Oh, I missed matzah. I'll do it in the morning. There's no tashlumin. The reason why there's tashlumin is it's from karbanos. We learn that from Hilchos Karbanos. Okay, and you'll see where this comes in. Reb Chaim, ready? Reb Chaim Soloveitchik. Your wife said, "No, what you learned today?" I said, "I learned Reb Chaim." Which one? The first Reb Chaim stencil. This is like big leagues. Not the regular stencil. Reb Chaim stencil. This is like Lomdus of Lomdus. Okay. Forgot v'sein talamat levracha. Okay, before Reb Chaim, I want to tell you a different point. Let's go back to the Yalav Yavai case, where you missed Yalav Yavai on Mincha, and Mariv is not Rosh Chodesh, so what do? You daven again, misafek, and you do it as a Tefillas Nadava. What if Rosh Chodesh was Erev Shabbos? This is the case you brought up before. Rosh Chodesh was Erev Shabbos, and I missed Yalav Yavai, and now Friday night is not Rosh Chodesh. Could I daven Friday night 2 tefillas, the second one another Mariv, without Yalav Yavai, as a Tefillas Nadava? Mishnah Berurah says you can't do that. Why can't you do that? Because you're now to daven a Tefillas Nadava on Shabbos. Why not? Because a Tefillas Nadava is like a carbon. You can't bring a carbon Nadava on Shabbos. You can't do Tefillas Nadava on Shabbos. Why can't you bring a carbon Nadava? Because you can only be Machal Shabbos if Hashem tells you to. You can't do it on your own. So you can't daven, but I'm not being Machal Shabbos. I am. It's a carbon. My tefillah is like a carbon. There's no Tefillas Nadava on Shabbos. So if I miss, so therefore, if Rosh Chodesh, here's the thing. If there's one day Rosh Chodesh, and it's Friday, don't blow the Yalav Yavai Mincha. Because if you blow that Yalav Yavai, you're up the creek without a paddle. Right? You're up the creek without a paddle. Because, according to Chachmei Provence, I need to daven again. But according to Rabbeinu Yehuda, I'm not allowed to daven again. Elamai al daven as Nadava, I can't daven a Tefillas Nadava on Shabbos.
So just wait for the Chazar Shashat.
You missed it.
No, you can't. Again, if you remember it in time, you could daven again quickly yourself before Shabbos. But I was talking about I didn't remember it until Marav time.
Consider it on time over here. Can you banish Mashas? Is good?
Well, you mean could you daven Mincha after Shkia? So that's a separate discussion, okay?
But this is in a case where you would need to. Can you rely on the suffix?
L'chara, b'diavad you could daven Mincha up to 30 minutes after Shkia, b'diavad. L'charchila, it's better to daven Mincha before Shkia without a minyan than to daven with a minyan after Shkia. That's Mishnah Berurah. Okay. So let's get the following scenario. It's Friday, and they just started saying the same Talamat Bracha, and you got a little farmish, and you said the same bracha. And now, no problem, I have to daven again. Daven again, Mariv. In Mariv, there's no V'sein Talamat Bracha. So it's the same exact scenario, basically, instead of Yalav Yavai, with V'sein Talamat Bracha. So l'chara, I'm up the creek without a paddle. The Chachmei Provence would say, I have to daven again. Rabbeinu Yehuda would say, I'm not accomplishing anything. It's Friday night, I can't daven a Tefillas Nadava Friday night, so I'm up the creek without a paddle. Says Reb Chaim, you're not up the creek without a paddle, you daven 2 Marivs. You know why you daven 2 Marivs? Says Reb Chaim, Yalav Yavai, the Rabbeinu Yehuda would say, if you miss Yalav Yavai, you davened well, you davened the good Shemona Esrei, you just forgot to say Yalav Yavai. But V'sein Talamat Bracha is me'ikarei atfila, is the ikar matbeya of the tefillah. If you forgot V'sein Talamat Bracha, you didn't daven. Yalav Yavai, you could have a machloikes, Rishonim, Chachmei Provence, and Rabbeinu Yehuda. Is it that you didn't daven, or you daven, you just forgot Yalav Yavai? But V'sein Talamat Bracha, everybody would agree. Everybody would agree. You forget the same Talmud, you did not daven, and therefore you daven twice. That's the first Reb Chaim al Rambam. Excuse me, on Shas. The first Reb Chaim on Shas. That if you forgot the same Talmud of Bracha, it's different than Yalav Yavai. Comes Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank in Shas Shuvas Har Tzvi, and he disagrees with Reb Chaim. Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank says that in his opinion, if Yalav Yavai is a machloikes Chachmei Provencia and Rabbeinu Yehuda, meaning if Rabbeinu Yehuda would say, if I didn't say Yalav Yavai, I davened, I just missed Yalav Yavai. Chachmei Provenci would say, it's like I didn't daven. Rav Chaim says, if you miss the same Talamat Bracha, even Rabbeinu Yehuda would agree you didn't daven. It says Rav Tzvi Pesach, I would say, if you miss the same Talamat Bracha, even the Chachmei Provenci would say, you did daven, you just forgot the same Talamat Bracha. The same Talmud of Bracha is really not an ikar part of davening. What's the raya?
He disagrees with the fundamental nature of the same Talmud.
Yes. Why? What's the proof? He says the proof is in the pudding.
Half the year we don't say it, and we're
True.
Pretty pudding filled.
What's the halacha? What's the halacha if I forgot Yala v'Yavai, and I remember in Moedim? What do I have to do?
Before the bracha, you go back.
Right, I remember in the middle of Moedim. I go back to Ritzei. What if I forgot V'sein Talumatar?
You don't go back.
Let's say I'm in the middle of, let's say I'm up to V'sein Talumatar Bracha, and I remember in Ala Tzadikim Ve'ala Chasidim. What do I do? Do you have to go back to Baruch Aleinu? Good halacha to know, you don't go back. Why? You say it in Shema Aleinu. Shema Aleinu Hashem Elokeinu. I mean, I'm not going to say if I ever did it, but I know people who have done such a thing, right? Who you forget in Baruch Aleinu, you forgot to say V'sein Talumatar, you say it in Shema Aleinu. Let me say, if it's such an important, if it's part of the Etzem Tefilla, like Reb Chaim is saying, this is part of one of the brachos of Shemona Esrei, then how in the world could you get into Shema Aleinu? The answer is, says the Tzvi Pesach Frank, apparently it's not part of the Shemona Esrei, it's just a mention that has to be said. That means it's a good Shemona Esrei, you just omitted a key line that if I didn't say it I'll say it in this place. More than Yal V'Yavai. Yal V'Yavai is only in Ritzei. But apparently, V'sein Talamat Bracha has other places, has different options.
But there's a bigger nafkamina, meaning that you have to ask yourself. Let's say you forgot the entire bracha of Baruch Aleinu, you just cut it out.
Then for sure, then you have to daven again.
Because the same bracha has a little bit of the bracha of the same Talamat, meaning it's the same concept. One is just
and the whole bracha is right.
Well, that's why if you say Merid Atol, you're Yotze Mashavua.
Right,
You could say
same
Merid
idea.
Atol.
You're saying it's because of the same bracha that you get something out of it?
Right.
Meaning it's still a bracha. Or it could be the idea of...
It's a bracha for rain.
It's a bracha. It's a bracha for sustenance, right? And the bracha is a valid petition, whether you said V'sein Talamat or not. You just need to ask for rain specifically. So either you do it here or you do it elsewhere. And so it comes out, Rabbi Isai, if you forget V'sein Talamat Levracha, Erev Shabbos by Mincha, what do?
You're done Shemona Esrei?
You're done, now it's Marav. So Reb Chaim would say what?
And it's after Shkia.
It's after it's Tis. Reb Chaim would say you have to daven 2 Maravs. Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank would say that everybody would agree you don't daven again. So what do you do L'maisa? It would seem that you're up the creek without a paddle, because you don't have the eitzah of davening misafek, and it should be a tefillas nadava. So don't forget V'sein Talumat Levracha Friday by Mincha.
Friday Mincha, you should pay attention.
So Yalav Yava, it happens twice a year.
No, but here you
V'sein Talumat Levracha.
Safek Brachas Lahaka. We only had an Edava as an Eitzah.
I know, but the Chachmei, if the Chachmei Provence would know what you did, they would not be happy with you, because they would say you didn't daven. So you, basically,
that's according to one side, though.
No, according to Reb Chaim, no, it's worse. Reb Chaim would say, everyone would say you blew it, right? One last case and then we'll end. Okay, last case and then we'll end. You daven, it's okay. It's Mincha Rosh Chodesh. Mincha Rosh Chodesh. No, forget Shabbos. You forgot Yalav Yavai. So you davened again. And you said Yalav Yavai. And you blew V'sein Talamat Levracha. Do you daven a third time?
Yeah. Because you can't mix and combine them.
So the Chachmei Provence would say, when you miss Yalav Yava, you blew it. When you miss V'sein Talamat Levracha, you blew it. So you didn't daven it. So you can daven 100 times until you get it right. What would Rabbeinu Yehuda would say?
Between the two of them.
Rabbeinu Yehuda would say, the first time I davened the Good Shemona Esrei, I just missed Yalav Yava. The second time I davened the Good Shemona Esrei, I just missed the V'sein Talamat Levracha. So I got in a Shemona Esrei, I got in a Yalav Yavai, I got in the V'sein Talamat Levracha. Now L'maisa, Reb Chaim would say, if you missed the V'sein Talamat Levracha, you didn't daven. So the Stipler gives the scenario, and the Stipler says, L'chayra, according to Rabbeinu Yehuda, you're good to go, but clearly he argues on Reb Chaim. Because he said, you davened the Good Shemona Esrei, you got in a V'sein Talamat Levracha, you got in a Yalav Yavai. The problem is, in the Shemona Esrei, that you forgot V'sein Talamat Levracha, that you said the Yalav Yavai, you didn't daven according to Reb Chaim. So apparently he agrees with Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank. Okay? Shkayach.
And then you daven the third time and you forgot Mashavua.
The fourth time you're like,
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.